This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas. Magazine publisher and entrepreneur Judith Mancini is sharing captivating conversations with experts in their field about the latest trend in our ever-changing world to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Judith Mancini Today will spark your interest and inspire you to lead your best life ever. And now, here's Judith.
Judith Mancini Today is sponsored by Basic Brands, Inc., providing the highest quality specialty products in the natural food industry. Visit basicbrandsinc.com and enter JMT15 for your 15% discount on your very first order, including their best-selling vitamin E ointment, which helps restore moisture and elasticity to your skin. Good morning, Los Angeles. And good afternoon, East Coast. Happy to have you with us today. We have some interesting news going before I get to telling you about choosing a doctor and all that goes with it, what you should ask and all. So first of all, I want to warn you, there are a lot of scams going around right now, particularly right before taxes are due. So I want you to be very careful. I have already gotten a fake letter from the IRS. You can tell these are fake because they ask you for personal information that the IRS never does. They don't do these kind of things. So don't answer any of them. Delete them immediately. And if you're so inclined, call the IRS and tell them what's going on. I've gotten them for the UPS people, saying that they have an incorrect address for a package being delivered to us, but we have not ordered anything. And our friends send us things at Christmas time. They don't send them at March. So that is fake too. And so is the Amazon, where they're starting to say, we lost a package of yours. We can't find your correct address. Well, that's not true because I get things delivered from Amazon all the time. I do most of my shopping on things that have a good price on Amazon, necessities. So check out those things. Don't answer any of them. Even Apple has been hacked with some of the warnings coming out. And Facebook is continuously getting hacked now. So I don't know what these companies are doing. They say they're working on all of them, but don't fall for any of these scams, please. They particularly target seniors. So beware. Okay, I want to say something about Novak Djokovic, the tennis player who has 4 major titles that he holds. Well, he isn't being let into the United States because he hasn't had a COVID vaccine. So they're keeping him out. Now, would you please just try to explain to yourself and me why somebody who has no problem with health, who is a super athlete, who has done great things for the tennis industry, why they won't let him into this country when they let 1 million unvaccinated people coming into the country? This is just this administration being stupid. Yes, I said it, stupid. I don't know one person in this administration. Just try to name me one. I'd like to know who's doing a good job and who is intelligent. All right, so the things are starting to turn around since the Republicans have taken over some of the positions and some of their committees are investigating things. Tucker Carlson on Fox News is in possession of videos from one of the people in the administration Republican that gave him access to these videos for January 6th. And it proves that some of these things that they have been saying with their professionally produced January 6th investigative committee, the Democrats, which only had 2 Republicans that are actually in favor of impeaching Donald Trump when he was in office. They were lying, outright lying. And this was produced with editing that was so fake. You could see where they cut it, spliced it, and showed that these people were not rioting and were not doing anything. They even showed cuts of the policemen, the Capitol policemen, who they said they beat over the head and killed. Well, they didn't. There was none of that on any tapes. He died of a stroke. Let's get this right, folks. This is finally coming out. What has been going on in this administration that has a year and a half to go? If we don't have something disastrous happening in our country, we'll be very lucky. Now, I understand that they have found more boxes of confidential and high priority secret documents in Biden's possession, and they have taken hold of those and we're waiting to find out what that is. So besides the January 6th, we have sad news that Senator Mitch McConnell fell down. Apparently he is otherwise in pretty good health. He had polio when he was 2 years old. Well, I had it when I was 5 years old. I'm sitting here telling you I'm fine. But he has had a bypass, and they haven't really told us what happened when he fell down. He was at a private party and he tripped and fell down. So we're wishing him well, even though I think he's a rhino. We don't want anybody to be sick and suffering or lose their life. So we wish well, even Senator John Fetterman, who is now and has been in the psychiatric ward, I guess it is, for depression, major depression. And they had clips of him sitting there working with one of his top aides on papers. But I question this. Do we know that his mind is working perfectly fine since he had a stroke? And since he has severe depression, you know, when you have severe depression, your mind doesn't work correctly. I had severe depression when I lost my son in 2021, at the end of 2021. I didn't want to get out of bed. I wasn't thinking straight. And I will admit it. Well, I'm coming out of my depression, so I'm much better, but I do occasionally forget a word. And I attribute this to 2 things. COVID problems from the COVID vaccine, the Johnson & Johnson, which has been shown to have brain fog, and the depression I experienced over this tragedy in our family. So I question John Fetterman's ability to be signing papers. We don't know what the papers are. I think Pennsylvania people, you better ask, what is he signing? He could be signing your state away for all we know. So check that out. And the only other person in Congress is Dianne Feinstein, the only other person who's ill. Dianne Feinstein, she has a case of shingles, and she's turning 90 or is 90. I can't remember which one. So she's a senator from California, one of the first ones, and it was quite something that a woman was elected and has held that seat for so long. She's a Democrat. We wish her well, because I understand shingles is a terrible thing to contract. It's very painful, so we don't want that happening to her. So that's my catch up with the health in Congress. What I want to talk about is a horrendous thing. We have a committee now that is investigating our leaving Afghanistan and how many people we've left over there and why they would send troops out before evacuating everybody, why they left the equipment over there, something to the tune of $80 billion worth of equipment, and people being killed. They have had a Marine on testifying about being at the gate when 13 people were killed by a bomb that one of the Taliban threw at them. It's horrifying, horrifying. And there's no rhyme or reason why this withdrawal was done like this. If it was to make Biden look good of just coming into office, it did the exact opposite. It killed our people. So I hope these investigations are going to be clear and be transparent and get to the bottom of some of these things that have done, such as the videos that Tucker Carlson has gotten his hands on. Tucker Carlson on Fox News. Yes, I do listen to CNN. I do listen to some of these other stations, but I'm so tired of them doing nothing but politicizing everything and lying that I listen to Fox and some of the other ones like Newsmax that people have to censor now, not use them rather than other ones because they've been taken off of some of the stations. This is just disgusting. We need everybody's opinions. Nobody should be shutting down news sites. Okay, so these January 6th, I think I've already spoken on this. You can see everything that has happened on there and how they have doctored all of the videos to do what they wanted it to do and say with their producer who has helped them with this. So let's listen to all of this. Let's get both sides of it. It's pretty apparent that a lot of hanky-panky, and I'm not talking about the hanky-panky panties that everybody likes. I'm talking about hanky-panky going on in our government. All right? There is some good news. Some of the Hollywood people now are starting to speak out about their Christianity, speak out about child trafficking, pedophiles, all of this. You've got Marky Mark on there talking about his faith all through Lent. You have wonderful religious movies coming out. And even Goldie Hawn spoke out yesterday, I believe it was, where she said she's tired of this wokeness and what's going on in school and people being banished. What she was actually talking about were comedians being censored and how they can't say certain things anymore in comedy, when really what they're doing is making fun of and using things that go on in everyday life. So now they've lost their jobs. They can't do stand-up comedy anymore. Some of the sitcoms on television are being looked at. Censorship is not good. You know, this is a step into socialism. We're already in socialism. I hate to say it, but that's what's happening. And we're kind of skipping over it and going to communism where you can't speak your own mind. This is horrific. You need to stand up and speak out. One more thing I want to hit on today is Mexico. It is such a shame and horrifying what happened to 4 Americans crossing the border outside of Brownsville, Texas. They got caught in a crossfire, supposedly, of 2 cartels, and their white van was shot up, and 2 of the people were killed. 2 were taken away in one of the cartel's trucks. Now, there are some people in Mexico who are saying these people were targeted and that they were doing something they shouldn't have been doing. Well, they were going to get a tummy tuck for the woman who was with them. A lot of people go to Mexico for surgery because it's a lot less expensive and they have some excellent doctors. But a lot of people, like I said last week, go over to Mexico to get prescription drugs that you don't need a prescription for in Mexico, and now they're laced with fentanyl. But these cartels now are popping up and actually kidnapping more people. And they took these two people to a shack where the government people were lucky enough to find them, but they had been tortured, and now they are in hospital and being released. They were released to the United States government to go to the hospital across the border. I don't know which hospital, but I would assume they have pretty big hospitals in Brownsville. And we wish those people well and that they recover. A horrible, horrible thing. But now they are saying, former FBI agent said, you shouldn't even let your kids go down there for spring break, which is coming up, because even though places like the Ritz-Carlton and Maroma and some of the other really high-end resorts, a lot of them are all-inclusive, and a lot of them have their own security, and I mean security with machine guns and all, so you feel very safe there. But the problem is getting from the airports in Cancun and driving the miles to Playa del Carmen to hang out there, which is north of where the airport is, and it's quite a trek. And if you go the other way, you're going down towards Tulum, and the boats and the cartel people go all through there and pick up drugs off the beach. And now they're very worried about the kids going down there. The same thing, unfortunately, in Baja California now. They've given a warning there because apparently the same thing is happening, but these cartels think they can get more money for ransom. Horrible thing, and I hate to even say that because I love Mexico so much and the Mexican people and spend so much time there, my entire family for years and years and years, and this is very sad. Now, the one thing we can't do is we cannot invade Mexico and go after these cartels on our own. That would be an invasion of a foreign country. We can stay on our own side and fight the cartels if they come across, because then they're invading us. But what we did in Colombia in the early 90s, I believe it was, we worked with the CIA, the FBI, the military, and we worked with the Colombian government, the good people, and we went after the cartels that were heavy into the drug problem. That's how the cartels started. They didn't really start kidnapping Americans for ransom. Then they were more interested in getting the drugs across and made in the jungle and all. So we worked in Colombia to get rid of that, and we were successful. But we cannot take our own troops or the CIA or the FBI into Mexico to hunt down these cartels. What we need to do is form a pact with the president of Mexico. I don't know who is the recipient of bribes in Mexico. I'm pretty sure there's some people in the government that are, maybe in the military. I don't know. I think there are people in our government that have been bribed. So there's corruption everywhere. Now, I'm not accusing anyone, but I do say, yeah, I am in favor of going after these cartels, but let's work with the Mexican government, with President Obrador, and let's clean it up, because this is tragic and it's got to stop. It's got to stop. I want to go back to Mexico. I'm just wondering where Governor Newsom went lately. He went down to Baja California somewhere. Maybe he owns a hacienda down there. I don't know. But he went down towards the tip of Baja Sur, the very tip. That's where we went on our vacation in August with little boys, very little boys, in a white van. Thank goodness God was watching over us. And it's beautiful down there, and it's a wonderful place to go. And the food is great, and the accommodations are fantastic. we want to stop this. This would be terrible for our trade with Mexico. It would be terrible for the finances, the economics of both countries. And too many people are being hurt now, so we do need to do something. All right, so sometimes you have to change doctors even though you don't want to. You might be moving to a different area. Your Medicare might have different changes on it. That's why they advertise on television every year to enroll, open enrollment. Doctors leave, doctors come on. A lot of doctors won't take any insurance anymore, so they become concierge doctors, and it's usually a minimum of $500 a quarter or $500 a month, something like that, to get a concierge doctor. They might retire, because here we are getting older and facing retirement, and they might be retiring too. So today I'm going to talk about how you go about choosing a new doctor. Before I do that, I'm going to tell you about the different kinds of medicine, because as you're changing doctors, you want to make sure that you're getting the kind of doctor who deals with the problems that you may need. And also, there are different kinds of medicine, and a lot of people are leaning towards these different ways of treating the human body. So you need to know about that. And I want you to do your own research with this. And I'm not suggesting any doctor or any way of taking care of your own body. You need to do your own research. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about all of them before you go out to choose your new doctor. So doctors and medicine have some basic, they have many, many ways of treating the body, but they have some basic things that they do. Allopathic medicine, which is the most common in the United States, and it's considered the conventional way, is practiced by many people, many doctors, and that's usually what your primary physician is. But there are osteopaths, chiropractors, and oriental medicine doctors, all that practice allopathic medicine. The other kinds of medicine are Ayurvedic, which comes from India, and it takes care of your body more in a spiritual way with herbs, yoga, different kinds of meditation and healing your body, and the yoga with the different positions and some of the herbs and all. That came into the mainstream in the 1970s. It's been in India forever, and it comes from the gods. So that became pretty extensive in the United States in the 1970s, but it really took off in the 1980s when more people were coming over here from India and living here. But there's a lot of people from the United States that practice that too. So you want to look that up. Naturopathy is traditional medicine, but it's healing your own body. And it came around the 19th century. You do have to have 4,100 hours of education and 1,200 clinical hours before you can become licensed. But it's only licensed in 22 states. So you want to explore that a little more and see if it's even in your state. Homeopathy was around Germany for over 200 years and has come over here, and a lot of drugstores even carry homeopathic medicine. They believe that some little parts of your body may have some of the strains in your own immune system that may be fighting something that's coming around, like the flu or the common cold or headache or anxiety, things like that. Then, of course, we have complementary and alternative integrative medicine, which a lot of allopathic doctors have become, because they are now finding out that a lot of the herbs and things from Chinese medical history do have different herbs, different concoctions, different thoughts. They treat the whole medical systems, and they like to treat your mind and your body and your energy and it's biologically based. And they like to believe in manipulating your body too. So what you want to do is find a doctor that believes in a lot of these things and get yourself a primary physician. He might also believe in acupuncture, massage, yoga, supplements, wellness, and works well with conventional medicine. So 60 years in the mid-century, around 1961, is where doctors who used to be the family doctor, who would look at you from birth and maybe even assist at the birth through death, have branched out in different areas, and now they are referred to as primary care. And they are very good. That wasn't until really in the 60s, 1960s, that these doctors started calling themselves the primary care doctor, because in medical school, a lot of people were then deciding to study certain areas and specialize in those. So if you feel you need a certain doctor to look at things, I suggest you take your symptoms and you ask people to refer you to maybe their primary physician. You can look at teaching universities that have medical departments, health departments, like I like to use UCLA here. It's a teaching hospital, UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles. We have teaching hospitals and facilities all over the United States, and they usually have lists of doctors that practice in their own health departments and people who have gone there. So you want to ask for referrals to a primary physician first to make sure your symptoms can be looked at and treated by the right profession in the medical industry. So besides the primary physician being a family practitioner, they also can refer you to internal medicine. That would be anything in your body. But they usually work with adults and geriatric. Oh, that's me. Geriatric people and pediatricians. We all know that our parents, you need to have a special doctor for children because their bodies can't tolerate many things. And even pediatricians, if they discover something that needs to be looked at by a specialist, they now have people specializing in cancer for children, God forbid, broken bones, all sorts of diseases and things that you might have discovered at birth. So there's wonderful things happening in the pediatric world to save our children. And then, of course, before you need a pediatrician, you need an OB, an obstetric doctor, and a gynecologist for you women. Yes, I'm talking about women. I'm not talking about trans people here. I'm talking about women need an OB and a gynecologist to make sure that you're not getting any kind of cancer or any other female disease of anything. And they can follow you through obstetrics in many cases. Obstetrics, when you are pregnant, and they want to keep listening to the baby's heartbeat and your blood pressure. And if the baby's turned in the right way, if the baby shows any kinds of You can take blood tests to see if your baby will have Down syndrome. And they have all sorts of things that can help you have a healthy baby now and prepare you for birth. And I wish you all to have healthy, happy babies. But the other thing you want to look for in a good doctor, and now I'm talking about primary care and anybody else that you're going to have look at you, the specialist, first you want to make sure they're covered by your insurance, unless you're very wealthy and you self-insure. So usually you get your insurance through the carrier that provides it for your employer. Some employers don't have insurance for their employees. It's extremely expensive for small businesses to do that. And it used to be you had to have 15 employees, 15 employees before you could qualify for group insurance for your business. I don't know what it is now. But all of this information you can find online. So be sure to check with your insurance and then think about your needs and your preferences. If you want a doctor who does integrative medicine, complementary medicine, because you want your baby or yourself to keep up with your inoculations, and all babies should have their inoculations, all little children should have their mumps, measles, rubella, these different things. I am not against vaccinations. Don't think I am. I'm only against these genetically made COVID vaccinations, which are causing lots of problems. So don't think I'm against them. When I was 5 years old and my brother was 2, my mother contracted polio, and she ended up being a quadriplegic in bed the rest of her life, and she passed away when I was pregnant with my son, and I was 25 when I became pregnant with him. So from the time I was 5 until she passed away when I was pregnant, I never saw her walk. I never got a hug from her. I got lots of love from her, but none of the touching. She was also in a respirator. She started in an iron lung, and she started in a respirator for the rest of her life. And it went from the bubble kind and from the trachea, where you had to learn how to frog breathe, which would go, oh, 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 and you actually swallow the air, to being able to have a corset type respirator. Now, I'll talk about that more someday, but I just want you to know this is the reason I'm in favor of vaccines that have been tested and been certified and know that they work in transferring it to another patient, another person. None of these vaccinations do that, the COVID vaccinations. You can still get COVID. A lot of people have had COVID 5 times, and they've been vaccinated 3 times and had 5 boosters by this time, and they still get COVID. These are not vaccinations. These are experiments. Don't take them. Of course, make up your own mind. Do what you want to do, but I'm giving you my opinion on that. Also, besides asking for referrals and recommendations from your friends, you want to read reviews. You can go on to the internet and you can look up your doctor's name, Dr. Simi Brown, and you can find out where he went to school, university. You can find out where he went to med school, what he has specialized in, if there are any complaints against him, if everybody absolutely loves him. Don't go to Yelp. Please don't go to Yelp. Do you really think that a Yelp giving a doctor a rating is the same thing as giving your favorite donut shop? Oh, they have glazed donuts. Don't go to Yelp. Go and look for different medical boards, different places where they give these reviews. You can go to, I don't have any. I thought I had some listed here, but I don't. I'm sorry. You want to just check them out. You can also go if you're with a teaching facility, a teaching university. You can look on there and get their reviews and all of that. Check their background, but that's sort of the same thing as looking to see what's happening and see if they have any complaints against them. or see if everybody loves them. Then you set up a meeting. A lot of doctors will talk to you on the phone. Doctors are quitting left and right these days because of the insurance problems, and so many are retiring, sort of like pilots retiring from the airlines. But you can get a doctor to do a televisit or just a phone call, and they will talk to you a short time, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. You can get out a lot of questions in that time. Do you believe in supplements? Do you believe in yoga? Do you believe in chiropractors? Do you believe in complementary medicine? Or are you strictly allopathic? Ask these questions before you make an appointment, but then go ahead, choose your doctor that way, make an appointment, go see your doctor. Then now you're sitting there and you have some complaints. Maybe you have something that needs to be looked at for your heart. Maybe you've moved across country and you no longer have a cardiologist, but you want a primary care doctor to call and say, am I having an anxiety attack? What should I do? I've fallen off my diet. I want to lose some weight. You go sit down with this doctor. And what I want to know for you as the patient, does your doctor interrupt you all the time? Or does he listen to you? Or is he jumping to conclusions like the doctor we had for my husband? First thing out of his mouth was, I hope you have life insurance. What? He hadn't even seen him yet. And the next thing he said, are you on statins? Well, my husband can't take statins. They make his muscles too weak and he can't walk. I said, why would you want to put my husband on statins right now before you check his blood work, his lab work? I know best. And then he came over and he put his finger practically on my nose and he said, if you don't shut up, I'm going to get security after you. I said, wait a second. I am his wife and his advocate. Well, needless to say, I got rid of this doctor of my husband's because he wasn't taking care of my husband. I don't know what he was doing, but he's gone. We have a great new doctor for him. So that's why I say, is he interrupting or jumping to conclusions? Does he respect you and understand what your concerns are? Does he seem rushed or distracted? You know, there's so many people out there and so few doctors right now that they book doctors every 15 minutes. If you have a good doctor, yes, you're booked every 15 minutes. You don't need to wait 45 minutes or an hour unless they've had an emergency. But they don't mind running over 5 or 10 minutes if you get all your answers and they put it all in your records. And does he seem knowledgeable? Now, my husband had a single bypass. This doctor, we tried him twice. He never once asked to see his cardiovascular records. Never. We had moved. That's why we had a new doctor. And he never asked for his records. And he never said you need to go see a cardiologist because you haven't for a while and let's get another baseline on you. So the other thing is, does this doctor have heart? Is he concerned about you? That's most doctors are supposed to be caring and loving their work, not hating it and not hating their patients. So that's what you want to do. Let me tell you a little bit of other things that you should ask. Now, have you gone to let's use cardiology, heart problems as an example. Some of the things you want to ask them, what are the symptoms of it? How serious is this disease? How serious is this plaque in my arteries? How will it affect my home life and my work life? And I mean, how does that affect you with your partner? And is this going to be long-term or is it going to be short-term? If I have the Roto-Rooter come in and clean out my arteries of the plaque, or do I need a bypass? where they actually cut your arteries and put something else in it. Now, my husband has a pig artery that goes through him, which apparently lasts a long time. That's what they've told us, and he's going good. So it's been over 20 years, but he does have to go get tested, to make sure he's okay. What caused this? Okay, so there's all kinds of things that can cause heart disease, but mostly it's lack of exercise, poor diet, and a nasty habit like drinking too much or smoking. And somebody I know who's very close to me is a smoker. So these things do cause don't forget, secondhand smoking can also cause problems for you. So you want to tell the doctor all this. They'll ask you how many drinks you have, alcoholic drinks you have. And now the standard seems to be it doesn't hurt, and it's even helpful for a woman to have one glass of wine or one drink, one alcoholic drink. And I don't mean falling up an 8-ounce glass full of liquor. I'm talking about an average sized glass of wine or a shot and a half of hard liquor. 1 for a woman a week and 2 for a man a week. A week, not every day. Well, I don't think a glass of wine every day hurts you. Some people say if you drink red wine, it actually helps you because look, in Europe, they don't have heart attacks like we have. They don't have cancer like we have. They have totally different diets, mostly Mediterranean, and they drink wine. You want your doctor to tell you what symptoms you have to look for now that you've had this procedure to have a bypass or whatever you're having. You want them to tell you what you can do and not do. Can you be tested for any other diseases? Like now, since I have this heart thing, the symptoms of the heart and this heart problem that you've corrected, what else should I be looking at? Well, maybe if you're a smoker, you should be looking at your lungs. Maybe you should look at your overall health. It's a terrible thing. Early detection is your best prevention and your best chance at total recovery and living a long life. So that's what we're getting at. Now, are your tests, your blood work, let's just talk about blood work. Do they send them to you or do they just send them to your doctor? Most places now will send them to you if you give them an email address, and the different labs will send them, and then your doctor will follow up with you. And the doctor will tell you if you need a follow-up visit with your doctor or another specialist. And you want to ask, can you reverse this? Can you reverse this or not? Or can you make it slow down? You need to ask them when you need surgery, such as having a bypass. What are the benefits and the risk involved in this surgery? What exactly happens? You go in and they put you under the anesthesia and they take care of the operation. And then how long's the recovery time? You go into the recovery room, but how long do you have to stay in the hospital? What do you need to do when you get home? When can you start light exercise? Should you start light exercise? Knee replacements now, they get you up and walking immediately. You walk out of the hospital. So you want to ask them all these things. You want to ask them how much it will cost. Is it covered by my insurance? If there's not, is there copay? You want to get a second opinion on anything unless you're having a heart attack and they rush you into the hospital. You don't want to wait for a second opinion. You want to get in there right away and get that done. What kind of anesthesia are they going to use? How long will it take to recover? And how long will the operation be to begin with? How long will you be in the hospital? What do you do? Can my wife or my partner take care of me at home? Do I need to get a nurse at home or just a caretaker? Try to make all these decisions with your doctor, and he will be happy to sit down with you and explain everything to you. So Also, when you go into the hospital, they will ask you to identify yourself. And always remember, they want to know your name and your birth date. That's what they're asking you. So don't be astounded that they're asking you that. That's how they check these little bracelets on you that they type up when you're being admitted. They type that on there. They type where you're going. They type sometimes your blood types on there, these things, but they always type your name and your birth date. So they make sure that they get the right patient. You want to sign the papers. They give you a ton of papers to sign, and that's for their benefit. But you want to make sure that it also benefits you. And that's all I have to say about that. You do need to tell them, and you need to make this list before you go. And it's a good idea to do it before your first visit with your new primary care physician or your new cardiologist or whatever. You need to tell them all the supplements you take and all the medications you take. Because if you take a lot of fish oil or you take vitamin E, some of these things that you take as supplements, which are very good for you, can cause excessive bleeding when you're in a surgery. So you don't want that to happen. So that's why you go through your supplements, you list every single one and the dosage you take. For instance, during COVID, we were taking 5,000 units of D3 because we weren't out in the sun. We weren't out with anybody. So we wanted to up that for good health. All right. Tell them any medications you're taking too, like thyroid medications. A lot of times you have to stop taking your thyroid or cut it down. But most of the time, these kinds of medications, they'll tell you when you can take them. You can't eat or drink for several hours before a surgery because you may aspirate it come up from your stomach through your esophagus and choke. So that's why they ask you not to do that. When you get sick and you get home and you're taking care of your hospitalization and all of that, you know what the best remedy is? Getting outside in nature, sunshine, and being with those that you love. It doesn't have to be a husband and wife. It doesn't have to be a companion that's with you all the time. It could be with the little kids in the neighborhood, just to say hello to them and see how happy they are running around. It could be your best girlfriend, your best guy friend. You want people around you. You want your loved ones, but you want your friends too. I just hate it when people are sick, and I have so many friends that are ill right now, and it happens to be our age, and that's the end of the show today. But I hope I've helped you some today to straighten out what these different doctors are for, and a combination of all of them would be very good. I have a lot of doctor friends that are chiropractors that are very into supplements and all, not just doing your manipulations and adjustments of your bones and all, but be sure that you like your doctor and you can trust him, and he will not be, if he's a good doctor, he won't be angry with you for asking for a second opinion, because sometimes these tests are wrong, false negatives, false positives. So do that and think about this. Think about your loved ones. Being happy is one of the best ways to stay healthy. Stay your healthiest now, and remember to always cherish yesterday, dream tomorrow, and live today. Thanks for joining me.